Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to Prime Live. You are still watching INX Prime and Prime Live, the Ramadan edition. Now, today we're actually pleased to be joined by Ameen Hassen, who is the head of Sharia Banking at Standard Bank Group. And Ameen is an expert on Islamic finance and brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to our discussion on Islamic banking. Now, with Standard Bank Group being one of the leading financial institutions in South Africa, we are actually thrilled to hear Ameen's insight on how Islamic banking can serve the needs of our community and contribute to our financial well-being. Assalamu alaikum, Ameen. Thank you so much for joining us.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for having me.
This is going to be a very interesting conversation because we do know that Standard Bank is the largest bank in terms of assets in the continent, and we do know that this Thursday there were some results that were released. Can you give us an overview of that and tell us more about it?
Jazakallah khair. Yeah, so the group published its financial results annually. It was published on Thursday, and fantastic set of results. Shows our strength as a financial organization across the continent. Our total assets grew to 3.3 trillion rand, and our headline earnings grew to 44 billion. So a strong set of results published by the group. We operate in now nearly 20 countries across Africa. We've got a presence in 4 global centers: Dubai, the US, London. So proper financial services organization. Our group CEO calls it a juggernaut, and I think when you start hearing the numbers and unpack it, you definitely start to see what a behemoth of an organization that it is.
Alhamdulillah, that's good. So just an overview, or just to briefly explain, so people that are watching who probably wonder, there's Islamic banking, there's normal banking. What is the slight difference between the two?
I won't say it's a slight difference. I think it's a big
huge difference.
Yeah, it's a big difference between the two. Primarily, conventional banking focuses on money as the subject matter of the contract. So conventional economics sees money as an asset, so it buys and sells money at margin. Sharia doesn't see money as an asset. So the first screen that we have is what we call a quantitative screen. We ensure that no interest is in the transaction. And then the second is what we call a qualitative screen. The qualitative screen basically is removing certain sectors from the transaction. We ensure that when you deposit your money with an Islamic bank, your money doesn't get invested in industries like pornography, alcohol, tobacco, arms, weaponry, and a whole host of other industries. So these are the two glaring differences, amongst other things: the qualitative screen and the quantitative screen.
And in the 20 countries that you mentioned in the continent that obviously Standard Bank is operating in, would you say the Sharia banking or Islamic banking is something that's used a lot? Is it popular, or is it more popular in South Africa or in other countries?
It's a growing industry. So if you look at the global statistics of Islamic finance, the assets in Islamic finance globally is $4 trillion US. Those assets are primarily placed within the GCC regions and Southeast Asia. But given that Africa has nearly 650 million Muslims, you're starting to see many countries across the continent change laws to accommodate for Islamic finance, and it's really growing significantly. Countries like West Africa, the West African country Nigeria, there's nearly 100 million Muslims there. A lot of the debt programs of the government is done on an Islamic finance basis. There's many banks that are starting to flourish, and along the east belt of Africa as well, lots of Muslim, Tanzania, Kenya, Somalia, so many Muslim majority countries across the continent, and it's starting to grow definitely.
Alhamdulillah, that's great news. Now, for those that are not familiar with the group, can you tell us a little bit more about the bank's operation?
So we function as 4 business units in the group. You've got a personal bank, which services our personal clients. We've got a business bank that focuses on business clients. We've got a corporate bank that focuses on corporates, governments, listed institutions. And then we've got an insurance and asset manager. So primarily, this is how the group is structured. and it takes into account numerous legal entities and geographies. As we mentioned, nearly 24 countries across the country, across the world, primarily focused on Africa. We believe that Africa is our home and we drive her growth. This is what our purpose is.
And based on the information that you gave me on the window operation, as the head of Sharia Banking in South Africa, what is it that you want to actually achieve with this?
Our focus is to grow Islamic finance across the continent. We've already started that journey in South Africa. We've been in operation now for nearly 10 years in South Africa. We also run the largest asset management business in Nigeria that is Sharia compliant. So our focus really is to grow the Islamic finance operation for the group across the continent into all of our operations.
Inshallah. A lot of times whenever we speak about Islamic banking and finance, you hear a lot of people say things like, I don't see how it's different from, the regular banking system, or it's not really as Sharia compliant as they say it is. What do you have to say to these people?
Yeah, it's something that we have to deal with on a daily basis, and maybe I'm going to make certain statements that may come across as being tongue-in-cheek, but the Quran lays down a principle. The Quran says, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. That if you don't know about something, go and ask the people that know. And the unfortunate thing that we have here as a society, we love to be armchair critics. And many people within our community believe that they are experts on everything. But just like you can't go and perform heart surgery on your own, because it's a very specific science and you need to have the knowledge of the anatomy, you need to know what's going to happen with the person when you open up the chest. Likewise, within finance, it's a specialist skill. People don't understand how banks work. People don't understand how banking technologies work. But from the outside, people want to pass comment and say, no, this thing is not allowed. So that's the first thing. I think if you don't know, don't sit on your armchair and make statement without knowing. Ask somebody that knows rather than saying that it's not compliant. The second is, I think we've come a long way. Globally, there is now very strong and a robust governance framework and standard that's available across the world. We have IOFI as our governance standard setting body. We've got very, very prudent methodologies in which we apply. The simile that I want to use, or the metaphor that I want to use, is like people didn't accept halal certification authorities earlier on. So today it's prolific. You're going to Woolworths, or you're going to Pick and Pay or Checkers, or you're going to any one of your big supermarkets across the country, you'd find a halal stamp on goods and services, on goods or food items, and you'll know with confidence that if you see that stamp, you can buy that good and ingest it because it's Sharia compliant. Likewise, we as bankers have to go through a rigorous process of ensuring Sharia compliance. We ensure that, like food doesn't get contaminated in food processes, we ensure money doesn't get contaminated in money processes within the system. We ensure that things are done according to what the principles are, which have been laid down by the Quran and promulgated and taught to us by Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So, yeah, to the people that say that it's not compliant, the first thing I want to say is, if you don't know, please don't pass judgment. And then the second is, we've got a robust global framework that the vast majority of scholars. And I think my message to our community in general, and linked to Islamic finance as well, let's try and follow the majority. We've always got dissenting voices on the right and the left. But Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam taught us, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا, that you must hold on to the rope of Allah together. So let's try and follow the vast majority of our ulama across the world, and be wary of the dissenting voices on the left and the right.
Inshallah. And speaking of, you mentioned contamination. Another question that people always raise in terms of Islamic banking and normal, banking, is that Standard Bank, as it obviously has normal banking, right, that operates on interest and all of that. And then we have the Islamic sector. How do you ensure? How is it that the two don't gel, because people say things like, but isn't it the same money? Isn't the money still flowing through the bank? So how are you saying it's interest free when the whole institute itself isn't really a Muslim institute or that runs on Islamic finance? Please answer that for us.
Yeah, it's the same example that we used around food, right?
Yes.
When you go to an abattoir any abattoir in South Africa, most of the beef, as an example, or chicken in South Africa that we eat is actually halal. And if you go to these abattoirs have processes of separating the halal meat from the other one. So you know for certain that, you know what, there's a whole team of people that are ensuring that the contamination doesn't occur. They ensure that the separation takes place. Likewise, we've got sophisticated technology infrastructure throughout all of the different key processes in the chain. So when you deposit your money, we identify that product and we ensure that that product is ring-fenced and it doesn't form part of the bank's conventional operations. And all of this is done. We live in a world of such sophisticated technology where you can, at a click of a button, pull out every single client that is in a Sharia product. You know exactly what the nominal value of that pool of money is. You ensure from a technology perspective that those funds don't go through to the conventional bank, and then you perform Sharia compliant activities with that. So these are questions that I'm so appreciative that we're actually having the opportunity to discuss, because it starts to eradicate a lot of the misnomers that people have around Islamic finance.
But this conversation was so informative. I wish we had more time, but unfortunately we have run out of time. But thank you so much for all the information that you have provided, and I do hope that the viewers at home and people that had the questions are actually feeling more informed and would maybe take a step towards Islamic banking and finance.
Inshallah, we hope that, you know, the one thing, I know we're running out of time, the one thing that Allah declares war on in the Quran is people that are engaged in interest. So we urge our community to get out of being at war with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah.
Inshallah, and thank you so much for encouraging us. Viewers at home, that was Ameen Hassen, who just gave us so much information and insight on exactly how Islamic banking and finance actually operates. And we answered some few questions and controversies around it, and I hope that you feel well informed and educated, and now you will take a step towards the right direction and actually fix your financial matters. But without wasting any time, we're going to take a quick ad break, and we'll see you right after this.